The way I see it is the internet's now here. And that means that we're going to move from centralized to distributed, right? So this is the major thesis of our lives. I mean, all of us who are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, this is the main thesis of what's happening for humanity right now, which is we're moving from centralized control to distributed control because of these zero marginal cost technologies like the internet. And we've seen it go from AOL, which was a centralized control, to the internet. We've seen it in encyclopedias, centralized control, to Wikipedias. We've seen it in paper-based business directories moving to things like LinkedIn, right, which is distributed control, wisdom of the crowds sort of thing. And so as we look at what is going to happen now that these technologies are here for Homo sapien, what are we going to do? We're going to heal ourselves. Instead of always going through the physician will become one component of a distributed system that heals us. We can help each other. We can heal ourselves. We can heal each other. We can work with every tier of knowledge, every person of knowledge, whether it's a patient or a physician and everything in between, to heal ourselves. We can educate ourselves. We don't have to go through these monolithic public school systems to educate and it's not about education, it's about developing the human mind, right? We've metastasized our thinking around developing the human mind around the words education, school, teacher, classroom. We all have had that experience. We're all locked in on that model. It's very hard for us to think outside that model. I've had many conversations with erudite, incredibly intelligent people who are in charge of public school systems, who are journalists in the New York Times, and they have a very hard time thinking outside of the box that we all knew as children with school and education and teacher and classroom. And breaking through that is going to be a real challenge mentally for people, even though the technology's been there now for 10 years. And with the iPad and with the iPhone, it's just, education still works today like it did based on the 400-year-old technology of the printing press. And the internet has touched everything except for medicine and education and government. These are the places that have not been touched. And so we need to heal ourselves, we need to educate ourselves, we need to govern ourselves. And the way I look at it is, that's why we've done Medpedia, is because we think that you can see if you're onto something in the medical world within a year of trying it. In education, it might take 6 or 8 years. And in government, it's going to take 30 or 40 years. And so the order at which I want to attack these things is medicine first, education second, and then government third at the end of my life, because that's a more dangerous endeavor to try to help governments change the way they govern. But I think the potential for the transformation of how we develop the human mind is sitting there, and is literally just a matter of ideation and figuring it out and trying stuff. A good example of what I'm talking about is this company Groupon, which launched in August of 2009 and just raised money at $1 billion valuation. The technology to do that has been here since 95, maybe even 94. It's just no one ideated it. No one actually brought it together, and suddenly they created $1 billion company out of something you could have done 15 years ago. The same thing's happening in education. Gaming in education is a challenge because to build a game costs hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and only works on a platform at a particular time, right? So if I built a Flash game 6 years ago, Flash works so much better than it did 6 years ago that if I looked at the Flash game from 6 years ago, it's a pretty bad experience compared to everything else I'm experiencing. So you'd have to rebuild it at the cost of $400,000 or $500,000. So it's expensive and only short term to actually build a game. So I think the approach to education is not going to be about games. And this is also true about medicine. It's not about medical games like the Wii Fit that will be useful for 2 or 3 years, but then stop being interesting to people as the technology moves on. Rather, what we need to do is apply gaming principles to education, gaming principles to medicine. And that's going to require much more standardized interfaces, like a Facebook type of an interface. And it's going to require wisdom of the crowds and true collaboration in communities so that the best stuff bubbles up naturally rather than as top down, which is more of a Wikipedia. So if you marry a Wikipedia and a Facebook to medicine and to education, that's where you're going to see the real benefits, I believe, because those interfaces can be very inexpensively updated, very inexpensively tweaked, tested, A/B tested, and very easy to allow tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to collaborate and contribute so that the very best comes out at any given time.